impi chirianista yakusaranga yakumana baisa mukutube paikara chirianista yakusaranga yakwana baisa mukutusemba. Welcome to our Monday episode of Election Tips and Insights with me, Kabanse. And of course, if you are a registered voter, by now you should be thinking about election day and preparing and getting ready for that big day, the voting day. Voting day basically refers to a day when we, the voters, are going to elect our president, our members of parliament, our mayors, our council chairpersons, and our councillors. So it also refers to the day when, if it's not a general election like this year, is a day when you hold by-election. So it's basically the day that we go to cast our vote. So by now, you should be ready for voting day, especially that just yesterday we were told the first batch of the ballot papers arrived as of yesterday, Sunday, meaning that voting day is slowly approaching. So this episode is basically going to focus on some of the things you need to prepare or get in place as we get closer, or as you prepare to find yourself in the polling station to cast that particular vote. So if you are a registered voter, by now you should know where your NRC is. You should know where your voter's card is. Not manje deyoenda mkuvota ndiye pamene tiyambosakira imwe kadi yanga iri kuti, NRC yanga iri kuti. So if you are a registered voter by now, make sure that you know where those two important documents are and you are taking good care of them and holding them as close as possible to you and to your heart. So secondly, you need to know where you are going to vote from. Okay, you should know where your polling station is located, and you need to know which route you are going to use to get there. So if you are not sure where your polling station is, you can still check online, you can still check your details and verify and confirm where you are going to vote from. Okay, and remember that your vote is a secret. Okay, every person's vote is a secret, and only you or yourself should know or know exactly who you are going to vote for. If you are like me, it's not a secret. I mean, we know who I'm going to vote for. I'm going to vote for President Hichilema for president. But of course, you should have made your decision by now and know who you are going to vote for. Of course, you can keep it a secret because your vote is a secret, So, besides the housekeeping, if you have done the housekeeping, you have your NRC, you have your voter's card, you know where you're going to vote from, and you know who you're going to vote for. Here is just a very straight to the point checklist just to help you as you plan and prepare for that very important day, because your vote is very important and we don't want you to miss that important day, because every vote counts. So here is a brief checklist to help you as you plan for 13th August 2026 to go and cast your vote. Number 1, if you are on medication, okay, ngati mulipa mankwala, ngati muguma mankwala yali yonse, if you have any underlying conditions, any underlying sicknesses that require you to take medication at any time of the day, because you don't know how long you're going to be at the polling station, please make sure that you have carried your drugs or your medicines that you need to take at a particular time. Okay, don't forget your medication home just because you're going to vote, because you don't know how long you're going to take or how long you're going to be at that particular polling station. So if you're on medication, if you take them in the morning, please make sure before you leave home you've taken your medication, because your health matters in as much as it is election time. Okay, number 2, ensure you get enough rest before the polling day. Ise bamene tikonda chakumwa makamaka, bamene tikonda chakumwa on that particular day, that particular evening. Don't get too excited mwende mukautire manje following day kuseni mukakangwe nouka chifukwa cha hangover yakababa. So have enough rest a day before election. Always have enough rest. Make sure that you've rested enough and you wake up fresh, because you might stay on the queue long enough, and if you are not rested, you are tired, you might end up failing to survive You know, sometimes some queues may be too long, it might be hectic. You need to be at your best in terms of you don't need to be tired. You make sure that you've rested enough. You wake up fresh to vote and cast your vote. All those other things can come later. So vochita chita uja usiku before election day. Shall we avoid that? Shall we cut down on the activity before voting day so that we are fresh to vote, we are fresh to cast the vote, okay? The next point to remember is that plan in advance the time you are going to get at the polling station. Ngati mufuna mukavote kuseni, make sure you are there very early in the morning. If you plan to go and vote in the afternoon for one reason or the other, maybe you have to work, maybe you have other engagements or things that may keep you from voting, make sure that you plan the exact time you are going to be at the polling station so that you can schedule your day properly. Make sure that no other activity interferes with your need to go and vote, because your vote counts and your vote is very, very important. So please make sure that you've planned your day. You know kuti nikauka kuseni nizambira kuvota or nizachitako one or two things, I make sure I vote. Remember, the voting day ends at exactly 18 hours if there are no extensions. So you make sure that you are there on time and you've cast your vote and you know exactly what time you're going to be there. Another reminder, like I said already in the opening statement, know your polling station. Know where your polling station is. And of course, if you don't drive or it's a bit of a distance you need to get there, make sure that you have saved up enough transport money, you've bought enough fuel for your car if you're going to vote out of town, and if you need to get on a bus or you need to get on a motorbike or you need to, just make sure that you've prepared enough. You have enough for your yango, you have enough for your fuel, you have enough for your bicycle hire or your yachikochikara, whatever you're going to hire to get to the polling station. Make sure that you are well prepared for that particular day. So please have some transport money, know where your polling station is there, plan how you are going to get there. It's very important that you plan ahead of time how you're going to get there. I know a friend of mine, a very close friend of mine, I wish I could mention his name. He was just telling me that he's going to vote in Nalikwanda, in Mongu, in Western Province. And so he told me, hapa nilikudala na plani na ndrama na sunga kudala, I'm going to drive nzambo enda slowly mpaka nikafiki kunalikwanda, then I go and vote. He's already got his plan. He's already laid down his plan and is ready to go to Western Province from Lusaka to cast his vote, because that's how important a vote is. That's how important your vote is. So make sure that you've planned how you're going to move, how you're going to get to the polling station, and you have put in place all those things that you need to do. Sometimes in an event, for example, the last election, we were having it, just after or during COVID, and then, we had to carry our sanitizers, face masks. Or there's anything that you need to shield yourself from, just make sure that you've carried the right gear for you. You are prepared. You have all the amenities that you need to keep you at the polling station for that whole day. Okay, another simple but very basic and important thing is that you need a phone that has airtime. Okay, for backup, for ease of communication, you need to keep in touch. Remember, I remember the last election, the internet was switched off, and so the only way that we had to communicate with people was through but it was through calls, it was through SMSs, and you have to use VPN and all those things. So just make sure that you have enough airtime for you to communicate. You have enough data if you have to. I can assure you that this year I think the internet will be up and running. So make sure you have enough data. You need to keep in touch, keep posted, know what's happening in the country. So you need to make sure that you have data, you are able to check the news, you are able to track and keep track of what's happening during election day, because an election is an important national event that we should all participate and be up to date with whatever is happening. Okay, for assisted persons, people that need help, those that are illiterate, those that may be differently abled or physically incapacitated, or need any assistance, make sure that by now you should already plan and know which relative, which friend is going to take you to the polling station. And remember, any person who is going to accompany you has to be 18 years and above and must have an NRC. So just make sure that if you're an assisted person who is going to need assistance during the voting process, during the election process, during the polling day, make sure that you've identified, you already have a relative or a friend or someone who is going to assist you to make sure that you get to the polling station and be able to cast that vote. So don't wait until the last minute to start calling, hey, munga nipeleke koshua, nipemba. Let's make those arrangements in advance. We only have barely 2 weeks before we go to cast our vote on election day. So make sure that you have already prepared. You know who is going to drive you there, who is going to guide you, who is going to push your wheelchair for those of our friends that are, you know, using a wheelchair or need any aid to be able to move around. Make sure that you already have and have identified that person who is going to go with you. But we're going to discuss in detail when we have an episode of assisted persons and what kind of help is available to any person who may need assistance during the voting process. For now, it was just this bit of reminders that I wanted to share with us as we get ready for 13th August. Of course, today we are coming to you from the bush because we are here. Wherever we are, wherever we are, we shall make sure that we give you those election tips as promised on Monday and Fridays. So until next time, the next episode is going to discuss the procedures or the things that happen behind the scenes and others that you can see before you cast your vote. So we are going to talk about the pre-election procedures or the common procedures that happen before you can start casting your vote. So we are going to discuss those things so that you know what to expect when you go to the polling station and know who to expect and make sure that you are ready and prepared for that. So we will discuss the procedures in the next episode. Until then, my name is Kabanse. We'll speak to you again during our next episode on Friday. Have a good one and have a great week ahead. Have a blessed week and be sure to be ready for voting come 13th August. Thank you. Have a good one. Nishina batekanya kwatite ubasakala nyongo ngabayiringanya kwatite ubapompwe